up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. The past 16 years, I've definitely had my share of ups and downs, just like many people do. Unfortunately for myself, after the birth of my first child 16 years ago, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression. I mean, I was young. I was a 23-year-old child. Definitely not who I am today. My support system probably wasn't the best. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. I just kind of felt like I was like thrown into this life, but yet it was the life that I personally chose, so you can't feel too bad for me. I just kind of felt like overnight I went from a child to all of a sudden being responsible for taking care of another human being, and my support system was crap. So I had postpartum depression. Unfortunately, they put me on Lexapro, the antidepressant at the time, and once I started feeling better, when I was on that antidepressant, I assumed I didn't need it anymore. I didn't know that if you go off it cold turkey, that you can have lots of issues. So during that time, after I went off it, I struggled with a lot of issues, including a lot of suicidal thoughts. And during my extreme lows, I would binge eat. There were times where I would go to McDonald's and I would binge eat like twice a day because I was comforting the sadness that I felt inside of myself and the guilt that I felt inside of myself for, like, why do I feel like this? You know, I am blessed. I have this beautiful child. I am married. Like, I live in a wonderful town. What's wrong with me? I shouldn't be feeling like this. So I struggled with extreme guilt for feeling the way that I did. And I was young. Again, I was very young. I didn't have a good support system. I didn't know. I didn't have anybody to talk to about this. None of my friends were having children at the time. So one day when I felt like I definitely was at my heaviest and I was hitting rock bottom during that time, I sat down with myself. And it just happened to be January. I think it was like January 2006 or 2007, something like that. I got real with myself and I said that I need to get my shit together, basically. And it was January. That is a time of year where a lot of people are focusing on weight loss. And so I went on the internet and I came across this website called sparkpeople.com. It was such a good thing for me to find at the time because I was able to connect with other people around the world that were experiencing the same things that I was. Nobody in my actual town that I knew personally was going through anything like I was. Plus, honestly, I felt like I was always so judged where I've lived that did I really even want to open up to anybody here? No, I don't think so. So once I found Spark People and I was connecting with other people that were going through postpartum depression, weight issues, marital issues, just all these other things, I felt like it was therapeutic, basically. So one day I got the courage to actually write my story about how postpartum depression was affecting my entire life. I wrote my story from just a very authentic, transparent point of view, and it gained a lot of internet attention. A lot. During that time, I would say a year had passed, and during that time, I managed to lose about 60 plus pounds. I went from 180 plus pounds down to like, I don't know, 130, 125, something like that. So I also had posted with my postpartum depression story a before picture and an after picture of my actual physical body. It turns out that my story inspired so many people and it gained a ton of internet attention, and it also gained some negative internet attention where my before and after picture were then stolen and used to promote fake diet products. But that's for a whole nother YouTube video. We'll save that for another. So that was my first time ever really experiencing a huge fitness journey for myself. Because of that, because my nutrition was so well and because I was feeling so great from working out and getting all the endorphins and everything, I no longer felt depressed. I wasn't on medication. I didn't feel depressed. I felt great. I felt like myself again. So as I started to feel better about myself and all these positive changes were happening, unfortunately, my marriage crumbled and fell to shit. It's nothing that he did personally. It's just we weren't a good match ever to begin with. He's definitely a wonderful person. He's the best father I could ever ask for my daughter, who's 16, but we were not a good fit. Skip forward a few years later, and I met the love of my life, my current husband, and we ended up getting married. Our first year of marriage was the worst. He can definitely say the same thing. I think we were just definitely going through power struggles because we both, we strive for control and power and whatnot. And we would love so hard that we would also just fight so hard. And yeah. So anyway, the first year of marriage was also very hard because I experienced a miscarriage. It's something that I had never been through before, and I felt incredibly sad about this. I had announced to my coworkers at work that, we were expecting a baby, and I was so excited. And then a few days later, I wake up and I'm bleeding everywhere, literally. And I had no idea. So I had my husband rush me to the emergency room. They did the ultrasound, did all these things, and turns out, sure enough, I was having a miscarriage. So that definitely set me on kind of a little bit of a depressive state, I would say. A year after that, though, we were blessed with a healthy baby girl. A couple more years, and we decided that we wanted to have another baby, and we got pregnant right away. Unfortunately, that pregnancy resulted in another miscarriage, which of course made me feel very sad and depressed at the time. However, my very next cycle, we became pregnant, and we had a very healthy, wonderful, happy baby boy. Unfortunately, after the birth of my son, I once again struggled with postpartum depression, and it was hard. It was definitely very hard. It was also a very challenging time in my life, in my marriage, and just a lot of things were very challenging during that time. And having the depression didn't help with my weight at all. So once again, I struggled with weight issues. I struggled with eating issues. I would go through periods where I would eat super clean and eat super good, and I would rapidly lose weight, and then again I wouldn't see any results in my abdominal region, and I'd say fuck it. So I would eat a bunch of food to comfort how I was feeling inside, and it was just like this vicious cycle of like on and off, on and off, on and off. It was crazy. That went on for a couple years, and I actually did try to go to a couple of different naturopaths because I thought, oh, maybe I just had like a hormonal imbalance. I didn't necessarily want to come to terms that, oh, okay, once again, I do have postpartum depression. So unfortunately for me, I had really horrible negative experiences with the naturopath. She was crazy, basically, just crazy. She wanted to diagnose me with like adrenal fatigue and all this bullshit that was completely not what my issue was. So January 2017, I found a wonderful doctor in my area, a general doctor, and I told him everything that I've been going through. And it turns out I not only was dealing with postpartum depression, I was also dealing with an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's disease, which is actually a very common one. And I would say you can definitely manage it very well. Anyway, he decided that it'd be a good idea for me to go on an antidepressant. I was very reluctant and hesitant at the time because of my prior experience. Also, for whatever reason, I felt like this huge stigma, like I never even wanted anybody to know that I was depressed, even though it was completely obvious. I didn't want anybody to know that, oh, I need help. She's wrong. She's broken. She needs to go on an antidepressant. I never even wanted anybody to know. In fact, to be honest with you, this is the first time that a lot of people will know. The only person that actually knows is one of my close girlfriends and my husband. Yeah. I would definitely say that I have definitely benefited from being on the Wellbutrin. I've been on it now for a couple of years, since 2017. We're going on 2020, so it's been almost 3 years. This next month will be 3 years. And during that 3 years of time, I have really turned my life around. And it's because I'm not struggling with depression anymore. I help my brain produce whatever chemical was lacking, and for me, it has definitely drastically changed my life for the better. With the last 3 years, I've made huge strides in my life. I joined a wonderful fitness community where I made some amazing friends, and I was able to stick to a very good fitness regimen. I've also learned a lot about nutrition during this time. Not to mention, I've also now decided earlier this year to go back to school. Since I started having my family and kids so young, I actually missed out on going to school. I guess I could have went to school and had a family, but when you're told like your whole life, your whole childhood growing up, that you basically need to just get married and have kids and then that's your life, that's kind of all you really know. I'm not trying to place blame on anybody. I'm just saying that's all that I knew I was capable of. Earlier this year though, I got back into school. I had no idea what I wanted to study. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that I needed to do something with my life. So fast forward to now, the end of the fall semester. I've been in school now for 3 solid semesters. I'm a 4.0 student, and I'm choosing to do all my prerequisites for the nursing program, which is one of the hardest programs to get into. It's highly competitive, and I feel pretty confident. I'm getting straight A's in all of my classes. I feel like, first time in years now, I feel like I have a purpose. I feel like I have a reason to wake up in the morning. Sure, yes, my reason for wanting to wake up in the morning should also be for my family and for my children, but for me personally, I need more. And I think a lot of women do. And I think admitting that is totally fine. We can do lots of things. And I'm just now, at 40 years old, discovering that. I'm so happy that I did now. Since I made all these positive changes in the last 3 years, I've also maintained a healthy weight. I've maintained a healthy diet where I'm not starving myself. I do basically like an 80-20. 80% of the time I eat very healthy foods and I love my body. I'm giving it what it wants. I'm nourishing it. But 20% of the time, I'll go have a piece of chocolate cake. I'll go have a slice of pizza. You know, it's not about deprivation. It's about definitely finding that balance. So since I have maintained my weight for 3 years, and me and my husband have been talking about doing this mommy makeover kind of on and off. At first it was kind of like a pipe dream, like, oh, someday. But then as I turned 40 this year and I made all these positive changes and I've maintained this weight, I was like, you know what? I think now is the time. And you know what? For the first time in my whole basically adult life, I feel whole. I feel complete. I don't feel like my mind is broken. I don't feel like my body is broken. I don't feel like my spirit is broken. I feel like me, and I feel whole. And you know what? Because of that, my children are getting the best mother they've ever had. My husband and my relationship has definitely blossomed and improved. Doing this mommy makeover for me personally has been like the icing on the cake. I started a few years ago, peeling back all the layers, fixing my mind, fixing my body, fixing my soul, getting down to the deep root problems of why I was so messed up, seeking help, getting help I needed, finding a purpose, feeling alive, feeling like I can do some greater good in the world other than just sitting around all the time. So this, for me, is like completing the whole cycle, like full circle. It's so incredibly empowering and it feels so incredibly fucking fantastic. When you can look in the mirror and you can say, I like you. It's the best. I didn't really anticipate going into all of this detail about my postpartum depression and everything, but to be honest, it's all a part of this story so far. It's all a part of what led up to this mommy makeover. It's just it all like goes together for me personally. And if I can help inspire any of you to make any changes in your life, to feel empowered, to be the best version of yourself, so then you can be the best version for your family, then goddamn it, that's fucking awesome. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up like. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I will continue to update on the Mommy Makeover series. Remember, this is only week 2. I didn't mean to dive as deep as I did, but like I said, I felt like that all of that backstory was definitely part of this whole journey to begin with, what led up to all this mommy makeover happening. So if you're thinking about having this mommy makeover surgery, do it. Make sure you go to a board certified surgeon. You won't regret it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you give it a thumbs up like. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And stay tuned in the future for some more updates on my mommy makeover journey. Take care. Bye.